Hello everyone, welcome back. It has been a while actually, hasn't it? It has been quite a while since I posted a video, like a proper video, me talking a load of crap that people will not want to listen to after 5 minutes. Obviously, it has been Christmas. December is just a bit of a chaotic month, isn't it? And I planned to start recording early in the new year, but then I had my birthday and I was ill for quite a few weeks, so I just really haven't found the time or the motivation to be able to film. But I'm back. I'm gonna try and hopefully post a little bit more regularly again, because it's been over a month and yeah, I just kind of haven't liked not yapping for 40 minutes, to be honest. So I thought I would do my Duran Duran CD collection today. Although I have a lot more CDs than I actually thought. So I'm going to try to show as many as I can, and I may have to make this video 2 parts because I have quite a lot of CDs and I didn't really realise I had so many. And, you know, I probably could show them all if I really put my effort into doing that, but this is me and I go on a tangent every 3 seconds about something. So this will probably be a 2-parter. And I'm really sorry, but that's how it is. Sometimes that's just how things work out. So I think the way that I'm gonna do this is I'm going to show the CDs, I think, in... How do I put this? In the order that they would have been recorded. So like the year they were recorded in, not the year they were released, if that makes sense. I'll try my best to do that. Might go a little bit, you know, off here and there, and might put an album that was recorded before another one in the wrong place if it's like a live album, but I'm gonna try my best to do this in like the order of the year. And obviously I know that CDs were not a thing in the 80s before anybody's like, oh, we didn't have CDs, so that CD wasn't out in 1982 because we didn't have CDs. I know that. I do know that, okay? Before anybody tries to correct me. Also, the TV's on, so the light might be a bit like, ooh. But yeah, other than that, let's just get into it. So, also some CDs I do have more than one copy of, just different variations of it. There's reasons as to why, but I'll tell you as we go along. So first of all, we have the first Duran Duran album. This one is in the plastic jewel case because, as some of you may know, last year Duran Duran re-released their first 5 albums on CD in these paper cardboard sleeves. So I have that copy as well. I did get this one first, long before this variation came out. I will tell you the track list because why not? I'm pretty sure for at least the first 3 albums most people will be very aware of the track list, but I'll just read it out anyway, add something to the video. So on Duran Duran's debut album we have Girls on Film, Planet Earth, Anyone Out There, To the Shore, Careless Memories, Night Boat, Sound of Thunder, Friends of Mine, and Tel Aviv. Now the thing that's always puzzled me, and I'm sure someone might explain, or maybe there isn't a reason and it's just a stylistic choice, but I never understood why 3 of the songs on the track list have the words highlighted in red, but only like the last word of the title. And it always confused me because I would have understood if it was the singles from the album, but as far as I'm aware, Sound of Thunder isn't a single. I think Careless Memories is, and I know Planet Earth definitely is, but yeah, it's confused me. It always confuses me whenever I look at the back of the CD and the track list, and it is windy out there, and you know, some of the words are highlighted in red. I don't understand why. Does anybody know? Can anyone explain? Could someone please explain? But yeah, starting off, we have the debut album. We are gonna have a lot of albums to go through today. So of course, we know what comes after the debut album. We have Rio. So I again have two Rios. I have the re-release edition that came out last year, and then I have the deluxe collector's edition, and this one comes with 2 CDs because one is the actual album and it has some bonus tracks on there, and then the other CD has B-sides and live versions, different recordings, night versions, remixes, that sort of thing. It also has demos on it as well, so that's really cool. It's a great album, is Rio. So yeah, we have the collector's edition of Rio with 2 CDs, and we have just the normal edition of Rio, the re-release. Again, I got the collector's edition long before I got the normal album. I actually think that the Rio collector's edition, I think it was one of my first Duran Duran CDs. So there's a fact for you. Now, following from Rio, we have Seven and the Ragged Tiger. Again, we have the CD in the jewel case and the re-release edition in the cardboard sleeve. And this is a very unpopular opinion, I actually discovered, but I do, well, I say I prefer the cardboard sleeve. For look reasons, I do. I know, really shallow, judging something by its looks. But on the other hand, I do think that these CDs are better for storing. Because the thing is, with these CDs, is, I mean, it's not doing it anymore, actually. I think it's finally sort of been, because it's been pressed on something, it's finally closed. But when I first got these and I unboxed them, which you can watch that video actually, I did an unboxing of the 5 CD re-release. They were springing open, like they would sit sort of like this, and it was really annoying. But I think now, because they've been wedged between a load of other CDs, they have sort of, you know, learned not to do that, basically. But yeah, I do like the look of them. But in terms of storing them, I do think that this is the better option. Now, I don't know if this is just like a thing that all CDs are going to see in the future, is the cardboard sleeves, or if there will still be variations like the jewel case. I don't know. I think it will be quite, like, sad to see jewel cases disappear if they do. Because I suppose when you think of a CD, you do think of a plastic case, and that's just kind of, you know, having them all on your shelf or whatever. That's kind of what looks right. And as much as I think these look better if you want to, like, display them upwards like this is a better way of storing them. So yeah, I don't know, that was a bit of a rant for nothing, but this is what I meant when I said I go on tangents. But anyway, we have 2 Seven and the Ragged Tiger CDs. What is next? What is next? Also, I have to say, I think this might offend people. What's new? And I do have to admit, I don't have Arena on CD. I only very recently got it on vinyl, so I definitely haven't got it on CD yet. Yeah, that kind of bothered a few people when I was doing my album ranking, amongst other things. But yeah, people were like, what about Arena? I'm like, this is a live album, this is a studio album ranking. Moving ahead. Stopping now, 1984. Obviously, this wasn't released as an album in 1984, but it was recorded, and as I said at the beginning, I'm doing this in order of what things would have been recorded, or I'm trying to, based on the recording and, like, the release year, if that makes sense. I don't know. So, we have Duran Duran, Do the Madison. And this was broadcast in New York, 1984. I don't think I've listened to this CD, actually. If I have, it's only once, and I must have been listening to it in the background. But I can't recall if I have. I think I may have, but I don't know. I do believe there's also a vinyl variation of this now. It's not an official vinyl. Also, the cover is different to this. So if you go looking for it and it's in a different cover and you can't find it because you're looking for the cover, it's not the same cover. I don't have that vinyl. I tried to find it in a shop that I went into and they didn't have it, and I just never bothered buying it online. So there we go, there's a story for you. But yeah, we have Duran Duran Do the Madison, and I believe that's from the first time that they did Madison Square Garden. So that's great, isn't it? It's bloody fantastic. What is this? I'm going to put this here now because all of these songs are from the first 3 albums. So this is the Essential Collection. I think this is a good album to have for, you know, you like the first 3 albums. In fact, actually, it's the first 2 now that I'm looking at it. So if you like the first 2 albums, you kind of want to listen to both at the same time, this is a good choice because it has a good variation of songs from both albums. From Rio and the debut album on here. It's a bit random though, because is there something I should know is on here, and I feel like that ties more into Seven and the Ragged Tiger, but this is like Rio and the debut album. Also, this CD has Make Me Smile, Come Up and See Me on it, so if you wanted a CD with that song on, this one has it. It also has one of my favourite versions of The Chauffeur, which is Blue Silver. You know, if you think The Chauffeur's great, you haven't listened to that. But we won't go on about The Chauffeur, or we'll be here all day. I'm surprised I refrained from even mentioning it while I was showing Rio. It also has the cover of David Bowie's Fame on here, while we're on the subject of it having a couple of covers on. So yeah, really good album. Next up we have a little side project to Duran Duran. But I had to show this because it's still technically Duran Duran, isn't it? So Red the Rose. I think everyone who is serious about liking Duran Duran, or even few people that don't, particularly like Duran Duran in like a really big fan way, will have this in their collection. It is a very great album. I think it's only recently as well that I have begun to realise how great of an album it is. I think every Duran Duran fan, and even some non-Duran Duran fans, will have this in their collection of vinyl or even on CD. And it did take me quite a long time to actually get round to buying this CD, but no, I do have it on CD and it's great. Also, I do tend to listen to CDs more than vinyl. I have a lot of vinyl, but I just never really play it. So, you know, I think if people were to ask, do you prefer vinyl or CDs? I think I probably would say CD because, you know, they take up less room. They're not as heavy, although I did kind of struggle bringing all these CDs with me because there's a lot. But, you know, it's not heavy like vinyl. And I don't know, I tend to play CDs more than vinyl. So that's my opinion, don't be mad, okay? So yeah, I do just prefer a CD to vinyl. I love vinyl for collecting, but I do prefer listening to CDs. I listen to CDs more often than vinyl. I think you get the picture by now. But anyway, moving on to 1986, we have Notorious. It takes everything in me not to do the no beforehand, but you know, I've attempted it several times in previous videos and I've always just cut it out because I realise how ridiculous I sound. But also we have the re-release variation. So we have the re-release and we have the original, well, it's one of the like first releases of the album on CD. What annoyed me with the re-releases, I don't, you know, don't worry, I'm not actually like annoyed, but something that I got annoyed with myself for was I went and bought Notorious and Big Thing on CD in these jewel cases, like one of the first releases of the CDs, because they are, you know, they're quite hard to find CDs. They hadn't been released on CD in a long time, especially Big Thing. That one was harder to find than Notorious, I think, and they were pretty expensive. I think they were like £25 each, which I know isn't like overly expensive, but the point is I paid, you know, I bought both of those CDs from like their original releases from the CD, and a couple weeks later there was the announcement that the first 5 CDs were going to be released, well, re-released, and I was like, oh, I did sort of buy them in a hurry for like to complete my CD collection, and I could have waited, but I'm not too mad about it. I mean, I made a big deal over that for nothing really, but because now that I think about it, you know, I do also have the jewel case edition, so not really too mad. Also, this is a bit dodgy because it just flies open, like it doesn't close properly. Oh, hello, CD reflection. I've got a bit of a thing with Notorious CDs, it seems, where they're a bit like dodgy. So this one's understandable, to be honest, because it is, you know, it's an old CD. So as I said, it has like, it just flies open. It doesn't like clip in. This one, you see the front, you see the back, it's fine. The CD itself is fine, but the booklet is not. It has this, well, you can see it, it's very visible, this mark. And I, you know, when I was doing my unboxing video, I was like, oh, why is that different to the back of the CD? Is there a reason? And everyone was like, yeah, that's a printing error. Mine doesn't have that. I was like, oh. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because people seem to like defects like that, like misprints and things. So do you think I get lots of money if I try to sell it? Because I see people, you know, selling their vinyl and it has like a letter missing out of the title and they get lots of money for it. So do you think I have a chance? Probably not. It's just a bit of fun. But anyway, Notorious. Now we are moving on. Moving in, moving out. We're moving up the line to Big Thing. And Big Thing. So we have Big Thing in the jewel case, as you probably guessed as I was just talking about it. And we have the re-release. Now, something I've noticed actually is, oh, go on, tell us. I do actually prefer this version of the CD because on the back, this is the back. It's, you know, it's different to the front. Whereas on the re-release, the front and the back are the same. I mean, I do, you know, I think the inside of the re-release does make up for it. But I do prefer this one. I never really noticed that this actually had like a different back to the front. Because this is just the same the whole way around. I don't really know why, to be honest, why they didn't, you know, make it different on the back. Because I'm pretty sure all the others are very, like, true to their original. But these two are not the same. But also just like the CD itself is better because in here it's just red. There's another complaint actually. You know, at first I thought I preferred the cardboard CDs, but now I'm realising they're actually hard work. They're hard to get the CD out of, But anyway, the CD in the re-release is just red, whereas this one, you know, it actually looks like the album. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that when, you know, there are re-releases of things, sometimes they switch it up a little bit, change a few details, but I think the change was sort of apparent as it was, because they're in very different cases. So you're obviously not going to, you know, get confused that this was like an original released in the 90s or whatever. This was printed in Holland, for anybody who would like to know. 1997, this CD came out. Obviously, the album itself came out in 1988, but there wasn't CDs then. So the CD was released in 97. Gonna stop ranting about Big Thing. Next on the list, we have an album that I feel like this is where people are going to lose interest, because they're going to be like, oh no. But we have Liberty. It took me quite a while, actually, to get around to getting a Liberty CD, because they're quite hard to find, and so are the vinyl, actually. Like, the album is pretty hard to find. But I finally found one, obviously. Yeah, I really like Liberty. I know that's really unpopular. It was my actual favourite Duran Duran album at one point, but it no longer is now. It sort of varies between Dance Macabre and Future Past. I really went through like a phase of just really loving Liberty, and I think that's probably why it stopped being my favourite, because I did kind of overplay it and the songs on there. But not only do I have this copy of Liberty, I have the US promotion box set. I got this for Christmas. Sort of dropped a hint to my parents, like, oh, there's a Liberty box set I would like. And I actually got it, and it's great. You open it up, and you have the CDs in here. For reference, this is the CD in the actual CD, and this is the promo CD. Walk the Edge of America. Wrong album. Then, you know, you also have the little booklet, and then it also comes with a cassette tape, which, you know, I really wanted this for like a really long time, actually, and I could never find one. And they were always like overseas or like sealed. Well, they were sealed and from overseas, and it was just so expensive, you know, like they would be a lot of money and then a lot of money with the shipping, and I could never quite justify spending like £200 for the CD box set. But close to Christmas, there was one that was pretty reasonably priced, and I thought, you know, maybe I could get it as a Christmas present. I didn't actually expect that I would, but I did, and it's great. I love Liberty, and there's just not enough like Liberty merchandise and memorabilia, and so like the few Liberty pieces that there are, if you're a Liberty fan, you just kind of have to take. And yeah, so this is one that I really am glad I have in my collection. So we have Liberty and the Liberty promo box set. So now we move along to the wedding album. Again, this was one of the first few CDs I actually bought. I really like the wedding album, as do many people. You know, if you ask people about 90s Duran Duran, they're just going to tell you the wedding album or Ordinary World, because that's pretty much all most of them know. Not me, clearly. We just saw a load of Liberty nonsense. The wedding album, I think, is an iconic album. The cover itself is a great concept. I really like the back of the CD. I don't know why. I just like the way they, you know, it sort of all looks like they're just, it's kind of like a bit of a scrapbook, isn't it, really? Just like loads of cut-ins and tape all stuck on there. That's how it's meant to look. Obviously, I know it's not. Honestly, the way you have to clarify things on the internet. I think the wedding album is a great album. Breath After Breath is probably one of my favourites from the album. I think it's a beautiful song. Surprisingly, I only have one variation of this CD because as far as I'm aware, I don't really think there are any others. I know I've seen a lot of people discussing that, you know, as we've had quite a lot of re-releases of albums in the past couple of years. Obviously, we had Red Carpet Massacre, Astronaut, and All You Need Is Now. And then, you know, we had Pop Trash come out. I forgot that one, actually. That was included with the rest of the re-releases that I just mentioned. And then, you know, we've had the first 5 albums re-released. So there has been a few re-releases recently, and I know a lot of people are speculating that that means we might get re-releases of Thank You, the Wedding Album, and Liberty, because we haven't had those yet. We also haven't had Paper Gods either. So, you know, I think people are expecting that at some point they might be re-released, which I hope so. I do hope that they do re-release albums like Thank You and the Wedding Album on vinyl, because they are very hard to get, really hard to find, and really expensive. So for people who, you know, want to complete their collection but just can't afford to spend, like, you know, these albums can go for like £500, even more than that. So for people that can't, you know, afford that much for an album, it would be nice to have them on a new re-release edition. So hopefully we will see a re-release of the Wedding Album in the future. I do think it will happen, as we have had a lot of re-releases, but I don't like to speculate too much. But there we have the Wedding Album. Walk the edge of America. That song just keeps coming to my head. Like, stop. Next up, we have Thank You. I know people got a little bit irritated when I said I really like Thank You. What's new? People don't like Thank You. I don't know why. Because I get that the reason is probably because they're covers and not original songs by the band. But they weren't covers that were done bad. In fact, many of the artists whose songs they covered on the album actually said that they were impressed, and Lou Reed even praised the cover of Perfect Day, saying it was one of the best covers of his songs. So yeah, I think people were just being very nitpicky, and I think people were in the 90s, and don't get mad if I'm wrong. I know I'm right. That is sarcasm. Like, yeah, some songs could have been a bit of a miss, but at the end of the day, I think, you know, as an artist, you record what you want to record, and if it makes you happy, I think that's the reason to do it. And, you know, they were just having some fun with the album, and then, you know, it must be pretty shit, actually, to, like, have people slate your work and, you know, be like pissed off at you because you decided you wanted to make a covers album instead of writing your own material. And yeah, I don't know, that must just feel crap. So to put like your effort into doing something and then people coming along and it being rated like the worst album by people, and like people not, but I don't know, I just think that is awful. I don't know, maybe I think too much into it, but I think Thank You is a good album. Maybe I'm the only person out there that does, but I actually enjoy the covers from Thank You. I think like out of 12 songs on the album, there's only 2 that I'm not that keen on, but the rest of it I do really enjoy. But anyway, there we have Thank You, an album that doesn't deserve all the crap that it got and still gets to this day. Next up, of course, we have Medazzaland. So obviously I have the re-release version that came out in 2022, I think it was. Wow, that feels like quite a long time ago. Now I know how people feel when they say they're feeling old. I'm probably offending people saying that. So, you know, went on a little hunting spree for some Medazzaland when the album was re-released. Obviously, got the vinyl, got the CD. I just felt it wasn't enough for the collection. So, after a long time, I finally got the original Medazzaland CD with the pink jewel case. You know, this is where the opinions get really unpopular and very controversial, and people will be mad about this, probably, no doubt. But I actually, this cover, this album cover, is one of my favourite Duran Duran album covers. I said what I said. Also, but if you notice on the two of them, the re-release version doesn't actually have Duran Duran written in the bottom corner. Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference actually in the album covers. It's nothing like major, but it's just the way that some of the drawings are placed and things like that makes it different. And like the writing and stuff. I don't think the back is very different, is it? No, I wouldn't say so. But yeah, also another thing is the track list is listed on this album on the bottom. It's not on here. But I think it's inside the booklet. Is it in the booklet? I don't actually think it is, you know. It's a bit like, you just gotta guess what this track's called. That's the game. That's the only thing that bothers me as well, is when albums don't have a track list. Like, hello, how do we know what we're listening to? I also miss when they had lyrics in. Just because sometimes you Google the lyrics and the lyrics are wrong. And you know they're wrong, but you can't quite figure out what the actual lyric is. But you're like, I'm sure it's definitely not that. It's like, you're meant to tell me what they are, not tell me what they're not. Anyway, so we have Medazzaland. I did also debate on whether I should feature singles, but I might as well. CD single here, we have White Lines, Don't Do It. This says it is part 1 of a 2-part CD set. You open it up, voila. You have the band going for a walk through a tunnel, and then the CD itself, and then this empty space for another CD. I'll be honest with you, I've not quite understood what this whole like 2-part CD set is where you buy a separate one. I can't figure that out, and it's probably because I wasn't there in the 90s to, you know, get it. But like, even when I'm looking at CDs and the singles and stuff, and I just don't understand, like, do you buy the other CD? I'm assuming you buy the other CD to put it in the 2 set. What happens to the other case? Does it come in like an actual... Oh, flipping heck, really? It's very windy. But does it come in like an actual, like, case like this? Or, you know, like... Or does it just come in like a little sleeve that you chuck out? I don't know. I never understood that. So if somebody wants to explain, that is appreciated. I've just realised that this is... I should have done this with Thank You. I think I forgot to do it with Thank You. So, my bad. This is from the Thank You album. This is a single from Thank You. And I just didn't realise I'd done Medazzaland. Next, we have Duran Duran Thanksgiving Live, the Ultra Chrome Latex and Steel Tour. We don't just have the grey version, we have the purple version too. Purple's my favourite colour, so this is great. You don't really see many purple album covers. Little fun fact for you. This picture is not actually from that show. Also, I just realised, actually, the picture on this album cover is... This one's more zoomed in than that one. So, yeah, a little bit of a variation there. This picture's more zoomed in than on the black and white album. Doesn't really make a difference, does it? But I just thought I'd point that out. This picture is not actually from the Thanksgiving Live show. I can't remember what show it was from, but it was actually a few weeks before this happened. I don't believe there are any photos actually from the Thanksgiving Live in 1997. It was at Pleasure Island, Disney World. It was a bit of a sad show. If you know, you know. It was Michael Hutchinson's funeral that day, and him and Simon were like really close friends, and it's actually on the CD that he dedicates Save a Prayer to Michael. So, you know, it was a pretty sad day that day, and to be honest, it does get quite heavy when you listen to that part of the album. But there's no pictures. I've looked and I've never found a photo from that show, so I don't know what was going on. I don't know why there weren't any photos, like not even one photo taken, because I know like cameras and things weren't allowed in concerts back then. If people did have photos, they wouldn't really be digital, they would just be physical. But you know, like, I'm not just talking about personal photos, I'm talking about like professional ones. I don't know, it's a big mystery. It's a mystery to me anyway. But this edition was a 25-year anniversary collector's edition, and then this was limited to 2,000 copies. What I like about these CDs is they're actually made to replicate a vinyl. So I don't know if you can see, but it's got like little grooves. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but it is meant to look like a vinyl. It's got like grooves in it. They're not actual grooves, but you get the point. Plays like a CD, you know, obviously you put it in a CD player, but it's just made to replicate a vinyl, and I really like that. And it's the same for this one, but I don't think you'd be able to see it. Thanksgiving Live. Now I'm going to end the video with this CD, which is Greatest, which came out in 1998, because this is a long video and I've still got, you know, we've still got the 2000s and the 2010s. 2010s? What? Up until the present to get through. So I'm just not going to have the time. So this will be in 2 parts, but we will finish in the 90s with Greatest. Yeah, that does have a crack on it. I sat on it by accident in the car. But anyway, another fun fact, random fact. I think many might know this, but this CD was the only UK release of Electric Barbarella and anything to do with Medazzaland, basically, because Medazzaland never got released in this country when it originally came out, nor did Electric Barbarella. So the only way people heard Electric Barbarella here is if they had this CD. So yeah, that's a fun random fact. But yeah, I think Greatest is a great CD. Wow, really? It's a brilliant CD if, you know, I always think that if you're going to start trying to get into a band, you should start with their Greatest album, because it does give you a general idea of the band and what they make and everything, and their sound and their style. So I think the Greatest album for any band, any artist, is always a great place to start, no pun intended. I mean, I do think as well we need another Greatest CD, because there's been a lot of different sounds and styles over the past 20 odd years since this has been released. So it would be nice to have an updated version, but I don't feel like that would happen, because, you know, there's not really been many hits in the past 20 odd years. That's a little bit disappointing, but it would be nice just for like the true like fans to actually have. I don't know. But anyway, we are ending this on Greatest, and it's just a great album when you want to listen to a bunch of different Duran Duran songs and can't pick an album. But anyway, that is it for part 1 of my CD collection. Like I said, I'm going to have to do a part 2, because this is about an hour long, and, you know, it might not be when I edit it down, but it will still be pretty long, and I just cannot keep recording for that long, because that's so much to edit, and it probably will make it easier for you to watch if it's in 2 parts. Hopefully within the next week, part 2 will be out. But that is my CD collection so far. I still have so many to show you. Like I said, it is a pretty big collection, and you know, there's going to be people that are like, it's not that big, I have more CDs and that, I have like 7 versions of Rio. Okay, it's not a contest. It is not a contest. There's a lot of competition in this fandom sometimes, and it is not a contest, okay? We're not competing for anything. But yeah, I am just kind of now realising, oh dear, I think I have too many CDs that I hardly play. But anyway, that is part 1 of my Duran Duran CD collection. And until part 2, bye. And this says, is it, what? This says, is it, oh my god, what?